All right, now this is actually part 13, but we only have like 5 points because it kind of got dragged out a little bit. And but it's when it rains, it pours, and certainly sometimes in life, everything goes wrong, and that's what that title is talking about. When it rains, it pours, and we find in the book of Job that nobody hardly endured more than he did and couldn't figure out why. And everything just went wrong. He was trying to serve God and trying to do right, trying to live right, and then he suddenly lost everything and everything went haywire. Okay? We learned some reasons for the book of Job and some interesting things from the book of Job. Okay? We went through that and learned that God doesn't always have to answer our questions. We learned a little bit that even that we don't always know what's going on, but God does. And God's up in heaven. He has a purpose, and He knows what He's doing. And that's kind of what we're going to get to today. So there was the book of Job. Then we learned about the trouble with Job. Job had 3 major problems. Does anybody remember what they were?
Pride.
He had pride. He had fear. He was afraid of some things. He's afraid of losing everything he had, which is what happened. Okay. He also didn't know God. He didn't really know God. He had a relationship with Him. I believe he was saved, but he didn't really have a good relationship with Him. He didn't know Him real well. Okay. And so we learned that was the trouble with Job. That was his problem. Then we learned the so-called friends of Job. Were they very good friends? No. Okay. They came and they wanted to help him out by telling him how wrong he was and making him feel worse. Okay. Now, after Job had silenced his friends with this argument, this great debating, this dispute here, this competition, then we got Elihu's opinion of Job. Remember, Elihu was a man in the crowd. A younger fella, and so, but let's catch us up to speed a little bit. I want to set the setting here since we haven't been on this in a little while. There's a big crowd gathered around. Okay, they're around this garbage heap where Job is sitting there in the junk pile there, scraping his sores and feeling miserable. Job's friends came along. They accused him. They blamed him. They condemned him. Okay, They arrogantly spoke as if they were the voice of God. Job answered them until they finally stopped talking. He silenced them. It seems Job had won the debate. Okay. Then Elihu, a young man in the crowd, spoke up, and he had more wisdom than any of them. He came closer to the truth without slandering and slamming anybody and all of that about what was going on, and that he kind of made the way and set the stage, or pointed them toward God, and that God was the one they needed to listen to, even though he kind of missed the mark a little bit. Okay, and now as Elihu is talking, a storm starts appearing in the background, and it starts gathering and coming closer and closer, and it approached. While he's talking, I think he was sitting there. I think he started talking faster and finished what he had to say because he's fixing to get out of there, okay? This storm is looking bad. I was going to preach this last Wednesday in that big windstorm. Do you realize everything that went wrong last Tuesday and Wednesday and all of that last week was just from wind? Okay, the wind knocked the power lines down, knocked the trees down, started the fire, and then blew the fire across the place and burned up a lot of homes and things, and did a lot of damage, and some people even lost their lives because of wind. Listen, God is the one in control, okay? And the power that He has, He can take the simplest thing. Did you know you can't even see wind? It's invisible. It's the air, okay? And so Elihu is talking, and this storm comes up, okay? Before he finished, the storm was upon them. I think there was lightning, wind, thunder, dark clouds, all of it. I think it was all coming and lighting up the sky and making noise and all that. Job likely sat there watching this magnificent spectacle coming their way while listening to Elihu speak. I mean, I can picture him looking at Elihu and going, looking behind him over his shoulder and going, okay, all right, okay. And I think all of them realize something's fixing to happen. God is fixing to do something. Sometimes you can sense God is fixing to do something. Okay, and I think that's what happened. And Job's sitting there, and this storm comes up. You know, I thought of this: when real danger comes, real fear comes with it. Then you'll find what you're really made of. Have you noticed that? Are you one of those people that freaks out and takes off running? Runs the other way? Okay. Are you one of those that stays there trembling, going, but I ain't moving? Okay. All right. And so you'll find out what you're made of. You'll see yourself in truth. Okay. If you ain't right with God, you'll know it even if nobody else knows it. I want you to think about that. You ever been away from God and doing your own thing, and here came a storm, and you knew why it was there? You may not have told anybody else. You may not have let on like you knew anything, but inside you was worried, you was scared to death. I think Job is sitting there in awe of the storm. He's getting more and more under conviction. He's thinking about all the things he's said and all that's going on, and the truth is becoming very real, and he's becoming very real with himself. And he's starting to tremble. I think he's starting to shake. He's standing there in the presence of God, or sitting there. I think everyone else was too. I think they're figuring out that something's fixing to happen. Now, they ain't talking so much now. Boy, they had a lot to say a while ago. Man, their mouth was full of words. I mean, they knew something. But now that God is showing up and this storm is there and he could do anything with it he wants to, they don't have so much to say. God often reveals his power with the weather. Man thinks they're big and mighty and in charge of everything. They can handle everything and they don't need God. Once in a while, God just got to show up with a little weather and prove to us he's in control and we aren't even close to being in control. When you stand in the presence of Almighty God, you probably won't stand. You probably won't be able to. Either you'll bow down to him and admit that he's God. He's holy. He's righteous in all that he does, whether you like it or not. Even if he judges you, you'll say, he's got a right to do it. He's right. I deserve it. There will be fear and trembling when we stand in the presence of Almighty God. The mightiest, bravest, toughest, most feared, and most fearless men will bow trembling before God. Either you'll bow to him here willfully, or you'll bow to him up there against your will, or because you can't help it. You'll fall down trembling before him. And listen, the people who bow before him, who resisted him here and wait till they get up there, they're going to have something to tremble about. They're going to have something to fear. They'll bow before him in fear in the awesome presence of God, and just his presence will have them terrified. But the fact that they refused and rejected him when they had a chance, and now they're fixing to have to answer for it, is going to multiply their terrors by 1,000. Now they're going to have to answer to Almighty God. Okay? And so think about that. If you're a Christian, then you may not have to go to hell and endure the punishment. But if you're a Christian, think about your actions on this earth. Think about what you do. Think about what you say. Even as Christians, we're going to give an account of that before the mighty God. your mouth will be stopped. His very presence commands our reverence, our respect, our fear. When the light of his glory and radiance shines everywhere and we see ourselves in truth, we'll only see our own filthiness and wickedness, and we'll see his glory and majesty and holiness. So let's get back to the scene. Who stayed and who didn't? Well, we don't know for sure. I don't know for sure what the people did that were there. But I think